Have you ever wondered how a big, round orange squash became the superstar of an entire season? It's an amazing story of science history, a little bit of magic. When you see a pumpkin, you probably think of crisp autumn air, spooky Halloween nights, delicious Thanksgiving pie. But this humble gourd wasn't always the king of fall. Its journey is a fantastic adventure that spans thousands of years and crosses entire oceans. Let's travel way, way back in time, long before there were pumpkin pies or jack-o'-lanterns. Our journey begins in a place called Mesoamerica, which includes parts of modern-day Mexico and Central America, about 9,000 years ago. The first pumpkins, or their wild ancestors, weren't the big, sweet orange globes we see today. They were small, hard, and incredibly bitter. So if these early pumpkins were so nasty, why did ancient people even bother with them? Well, early humans were incredibly clever and resourceful. They discovered that while the flesh of these wild gourds was inedible, the seeds inside were a different story. Our story's hero, the pumpkin, was not content to stay in one place. Its great world tour began with the help of explorers and traders. When European explorers like Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas in the late 1400s and early 1500s, they had never seen anything like a pumpkin before. The explorers wrote about these pompions, a word that comes from the French word for a large melon. They packed the seeds in their ships and brought them back to Europe, ready to introduce this new world wonder to the old world. Once the pumpkin seeds arrived in Europe, they were an instant hit. Farmers discovered that pumpkins were incredibly easy to grow. They thrived in different climates and soils, from the sunny fields of Spain to the cool gardens of England. When European settlers arrived in North America, they brought pumpkin seeds back with them, completing the pumpkin's round-trip journey across the Atlantic. Here, they learned even more about the pumpkin from the Native Americans, who had been cultivating it for centuries. The settlers were struggling to grow their familiar European crops in the new, harsh environment. They quickly learned that pumpkins were a lifesaver. This hardy gourd grew exceptionally well in the American soil and became an essential part of the colonists' diet. The early American colonists got incredibly creative with how they cooked pumpkins. Since they often lacked fancy ovens, they developed a clever recipe. They would hollow out a pumpkin, fill it with milk, honey, spices, and then put the top back on like a lid. They would bury the entire pumpkin in the hot ashes of a fire and let it bake slowly. When it was done, they would have a delicious, sweet pudding, a sort of early version of pumpkin pie. How did a pumpkin become the spooky face of Halloween? For that story, we have to travel across the ocean again, this time to Ireland. The tradition of carving vegetables for Halloween didn't start with pumpkins. It began with an old Irish folk tale about a man named Stingy Jack. The legend says Jack was a trickster who fooled the devil. When Jack died, he was turned away from heaven and hell. He was forced to wander the earth for eternity with only a burning coal inside a hollowed-out turnip to light his way. This ghostly figure became known as Jack of the Lantern, or Jack-o'-lantern. To scare away Stingy Jack and other evil spirits on Halloween night, people in Ireland and Scotland started carving their own lanterns. They would take large turnips, potatoes, beets, hollow them out, and carve scary faces into them. Then they would place a piece of glowing coal or a small candle inside to make them glow eerily in the dark. These spooky creations were placed in windows, carried around to ward off wandering spirits. When Irish immigrants came to America in the 1800s, they brought their traditions with them, including the carving of jack-o'-lanterns. However, they soon discovered that turnips in America weren't as large or as common as they were back home. But they found a perfect substitute that was bigger, easier to carve, and already associated with the autumn harvest: the pumpkin. In the 21st century, the pumpkin's takeover reached a whole new level. It wasn't just for pies and porches anymore. Suddenly, it was everywhere, in everything. This modern pumpkin craze can be traced back to one iconic flavor: pumpkin spice. This magical blend of cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves has been used in pumpkin pies for generations. In the early 2000s, a certain coffee company had a brilliant idea. They mixed that classic spice blend with espresso, steamed milk. The result, the now famous pumpkin spice latte. And with that, a phenomenon was born. The pumpkin spice latte, or PSL as it's often called, became more than a drink. It became a cultural event. Its arrival each year signals the unofficial start of autumn. People eagerly await its return. It inspired a flood of pumpkin spice products: breakfast cereal, yogurt, dog treats, air fresheners. Beyond the coffee cup, our love for pumpkins grew into huge community celebrations. Towns across the country host giant pumpkin festivals. These events include pumpkin growing contests, pumpkin chucking competitions. There are also pumpkin pie eating contests, pumpkin-themed parades, fields with thousands of pumpkins for families to pick. These festivals bring communities together to celebrate the harvest. So, what does the future hold for our amazing friend, the pumpkin? Scientists, farmers, innovators, already thinking up new and exciting possibilities. Researchers are developing new varieties of pumpkins. Imagine pumpkins that are even more nutritious, packed with extra vitamins and minerals, or pumpkins that are naturally resistant to pests and resistant to diseases, which would mean farmers could grow them more sustainably with fewer chemicals. We might even see pumpkins bred to thrive in hotter climates, and bred to do well in drier climates, helping ensure pumpkins remain a reliable food source for a changing planet. The pumpkin's potential doesn't stop with food. Pumpkin seeds are a fantastic source of oil. That oil could potentially be used to create biofuels, cleaner burning energy that could one day power our cars or heat our homes. The tough fibers in the pumpkin's flesh could be used to create biodegradable materials, a natural, compostable alternative to plastic packaging. The humble pumpkin could become a hero of sustainability. It's a great example of science looking to nature for brilliant solutions. We might even see pumpkins in space. Astronauts on long missions to Mars will need to grow their own food. Martian greenhouse with glowing pumpkin plants. Imagine carving the first ever Mars-o-lantern, from its ancient origins to its potential future on another planet. The pumpkin's story is a testament to its incredible versatility. It has nourished us. It has inspired us. It has brought us together for thousands of years. As we continue to innovate and dream, there's no doubt this remarkable gourd will continue to be a part of our lives. So the next time you see a pumpkin, remember its amazing journey. It's a story of survival, adaptation, and creativity. The great pumpkin adventure continues, and the best is yet to come.